Well, the San Antonio Spurs hype was fun while it lasted, but they're absolutely trash now. And I mean, why would we expect a rookie, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Jeremy Sohan to be some threat in the Western Conference of all conferences? And I know not everyone thought that the Spurs would be a good team this year, but trust me, I've seen countless amounts of NBA fans and even some analysts who thought Victor Wembanyama could lead them to the playoffs. That could possibly happen if the Spurs franchise is shipped overseas. But in reality, there's a 0% chance that happens in the NBA, where you've got teams like the Nuggets, the Thunder, Lakers, Mavericks, and Timberwolves standing in your way, just to name a few. What exactly makes them so damn bad though? Well, stick around because I'm about to explain that right now. So without further ado, let's get into it. For starters, they can't score the basketball, which is kind of important. They rank 25th in points per game. And this all starts with the prodigy himself, Victor Wembanyama. He's sort of the Spurs' go-to scorer. And I say that sort of because he, Keldon Johnson, and Devin Vassell pretty much share the ball evenly. However, Victor shoots more shots than both of them, believe it or not, by a wide margin as well. Victor is a phenomenal talent. He can dribble, defend, rebound, but unfortunately, being efficient doesn't go along with all that. His ability to put the ball in the hoop efficiently has been a major struggle. He's shooting 27% from three and under 43% from the field, which is just downright awful for someone who's 200 feet tall. Most of his missed shots are due to his poor shot selection. This kid isn't afraid of taking leaning fadeaways from literally anywhere on the court. It's kind of like he forgets that he's the tallest player on the floor by a wide margin. So he just launches up crazy fall-away shots like the majority of defenders guarding him aren't at least 4 to 5 inches shorter than him. I'm even seeing that NBA fans online are upset that Victor doesn't get the ball enough. Some fans are going as far as saying his teammates are jealous of him and sabotaging his career, which is funny, but not true. Again, Wembanyama shoots the most shots on the team by far, so he's getting touches, but of course, touches don't equate to made shots. If I'm a Spurs player and our 7-footer is shooting poorly in the mid-range, in the post, and at the three-point line, you better believe I would be reluctant before I pass it to him as well. But for all of my 2K players out there, you're gonna get this analogy I'm about to lay on you. Imagine you were the point guard, and every time you pass it to a specific teammate, he just shot nothing but contested fadeaway long twos. Now let's be honest, you would be frustrated with his shot selection. And as a result of this, you probably wouldn't be given the ball as much because you know that there are better options. And like I said, that narrative doesn't even get that much truth to it anyways because he gets more shots than everyone else on the team. But at the same time, I'm almost 100% sure that's what Victor's teammates are thinking in some of those games. Now, am I someone who's gonna go ahead and say he's a bust because of all of this? Of course not. He's still a really good all-around player. And on his very best nights, he can compete against the best players and teams. But the facts are the facts. He just simply isn't playing that great, especially compared to someone like Chet Holmgren. Keldon Johnson, on the other hand, has been pretty efficient. He's averaging 17 points while shooting 47% from the field and 37% from three. With Victor now on the roster, Johnson's field goal attempts have gone down drastically. He went from shooting 17 shots per game to shooting just a little over 13 shots per game. He averaged 22 points per game last season. So Victor's arrival definitely has something to do with that. And I'm not saying that in a necessarily negative way either. However, I do think Johnson should be shooting more shots right now. He's a pretty solid 3-level scorer who can really ball. Is he the best shooter? No. But can he get buckets when needed? Absolutely. And the same goes for Devin Vassell, although his attempts have only gone down a little bit compared to last season. But he is the most efficient of them all. He's shooting 39% from three and 48% from the field, while also being the best mid-range scorer on the roster. Both Vassell and Johnson are far from perfect though. They can score, but they aren't big-time scorers. They aren't the type of players you fear in the fourth quarter like a Damian Lillard, De'Aaron Fox, Luka Doncic, or Tyrese Halliburton. Neither of them are big shot makers. And then it certainly doesn't help that the Spurs are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. And a place where you thought they would thrive would be in transition, but they're not really doing that well in this category as well. They just simply can't put the ball in the hoop, especially in the third quarter. Third quarters just really have been a struggle for this young Spurs squad. Mostly because not only can they not score, but their defense has been atrocious. Each week it seems like they're getting worse and worse. They're currently almost dead last in defensive rating. Trey Jones, their point guard, said something interesting about their defensive focus before the season. It was definitely within the first couple of days. Coach was on us hard about it. But they're letting us have a lot of freedom this year with defense and trying to just make plays on the ball, and then recover after that. Just be active as we can be, and let the rest just take care of itself. This is interesting because I'm not so sure that this is the best advice to give this particular Spurs team. Keldon Johnson was even on record saying that having Victor Wembanyama behind him allows him to make more gambles on defense, which is wrong. You should not be gambling or consistently trying to make a play on the ball at all, not when you don't have elite individual defenders. A team like the Timberwolves, who have Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and Kyle Anderson, can play this style. The Celtics, who have Holiday, Tatum, Derek White, Kristaps, Horford, and Jaylen Brown, can play with this style as well. But not for a team whose best defenders are Victor Wembanyama, Jeremy Sohan, and Devin Vassell. Don't get me wrong, all three of them are good defenders, but they aren't game-changing defenders who will be on any all-defensive team list. Making gambles on the ball and not coming away with it puts your entire defense at risk and at disadvantage, because now the defender who went for the steal and missed out is out of position, and now the offensive player can blow by him and get into the paint. They simply just don't have a high-level defensive stopper. Jeremy Sohan is a good defender and he can defend multiple positions, but from what I've seen so far this season, he just lacks the foot speed and hit mobility to defend the best of the best. And Devin Vassell isn't really a defensive stopper. He's more of a good off-ball defender who can get into passing lanes and disrupt shooters running across screens. And other than these two, the Spurs don't really have any other option for a defensive stopper. And Victor definitely makes the entire defense better when on the floor due to his shot deterrence and shot blocking ability, but he just isn't at that level yet to where he can totally dominate games defensively like a Rudy Gobert or Anthony Davis. I knew the Spurs defense wouldn't be elite, but honestly, I thought it would be better than this. The Spurs just have a really bad defense, and it starts with communication, the backbone of any sturdy defense. Teams that struggle to find their offensive rhythm often compensate by perfecting their defensive communication. They talk, they shout, they point, creating an impenetrable wall of solidarity that frustrates opponents and disrupts their flow. Then there's the art of the closeout, a defender flying out with arms extended, contesting shots like a superhero protecting the rim. Even if the offense misfires, a well-executed closeout can turn a sure basket into a brick, injecting a much-needed spark into the struggling team's morale. But wait, because there's more. Rebounding, a fundamental yet underrated aspect of defense, becomes the elixir for the struggling offense. Snatching those missed shots not only denies the opposition second chance points, but also jumpstarts the transition game. However, the Spurs are bad in the rebounding category too, both on the offensive end and defensive end. They aren't a terrible rebounding team, but they aren't really a good one either, especially when Wembanyama isn't on the floor. But okay, now that we know why they suck, what are the possible solutions? Well, I don't think that they're actually trying to win games. Not saying that they're losing on purpose or tanking, but what I mean is I'm not sure that they're going to make any moves at the trade deadline, because realistically, there isn't a single move out there that can make them playoff contenders. I'd like to see them make some micro moves that can pay off next season. The one trade that they could pull off now is acquiring Emmanuel Quickly from the New York Knicks. However, the better option may be just to get him in free agency this offseason. Other point guards like Markelle Fultz could also be a target. But what do you think the Spurs should do? Should they make a trade in hopes of making the playoffs? Or should they just ride it out and get another high pick in this year's draft? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.